Hey Shyla, it's Dr. Scott. We've got some feedback for you on your visual analysis draft. So, quick reminder of what I was looking for in the assignment. One is the thesis statement, whether or not it was clear and focused, and whether or not you had strong supporting reasons to support that thesis statement. I'm also looking for supporting details from the murals. So, in your paragraphs, I'm looking for good descriptive details, and I talked about that in the film review. And you actually got that. Like, that was an issue with the film review, and I'm proud of you because you've done a lot better here. So using supporting details, but then also kind of explaining how those details support your paper's argument. And there's room for improvement here on that criteria. Also taking a look at organization and transitions, the ability to integrate a couple paraphrases, and then there's some other criteria that are less important, like MLA formatting, integrating a visual, and eliminating be verbs from your writing. So that's where that's what I'm looking at. I think we can talk about the thesis, supporting details, and organization and transitions. I think there's a little bit of tweaking that needs to happen with the thesis statement, but I really kind of want to say that I'm really proud of you in this draft because you're doing really good. Like, you're on the right track. So the one thing that I think does need to be addressed is, like, this is pretty confusing here. I don't know. I think you just kind of need to come out and say it. And so if that's really the argument that you want to get across, like, the murals get the idea of happiness across through the use of color, shading, setting, people. That's one way to go about it, just to say they get the idea of happiness across, or the other way to go, like, if you want to do this, which is interesting and I like it, and it might be like the Good Times Remembered mural does a less effective job of conveying happiness than the Chillicothe Street mural. Or like beginning that sentence with, although both murals use blah, 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 the Good Times Remembered mural is more effective or less effective than the Chillicothe Street 1940s mural in conveying happiness. So this was really kind of funky, and it didn't feel like this is something you actually wrote too much about in your essay. And so I was kind of confused, like, where's this going in your paper? I love how you focus on happiness. Like, you stick with that, and that's awesome. Like, I've got a lot of drafts where people are like, I'm writing about happiness, identity, how tough the town is, and it's just like, okay, focus on one thing, and you've done that, and that's awesome. So, good for you. Color and shading in that first paragraph, I think my feedback here about throughout your body paragraphs is it's great that they're focused, and they're supporting that idea of happiness. The thing is like, you're not talking about how the details get that idea of happiness across. And I'm not saying after every detail you need to say, all right, this is an example of happiness, and just kind of repeating that. But you do need to talk about the different ways that happiness is conveyed through the use of color, the different ways that happiness is conveyed through the use of shading. So it might be like they use shading in particular areas to highlight happiness in one part of the mural, and then they use it in a different way in another part of the mural. Kind of need to explain how your examples and how your details from the murals are helping to support that thesis statement. What does it mean that, warm colors, brick red, navy blue, brown, how does that get across happiness? You don't really talk about it much. You're often talking about the next set of colors and then the next set of colors. There needs to be some reminders that this is a conversation about how happiness is kind of conveyed. And it totally is. Like, I see that bright, that kind of deep red, it's really warm. It's inviting. I totally know what you're talking about. And it's contrasted against like that navy blue sky, so you're really kind of drawn to that red brick. I totally know what you're talking about, but you need to explain how that is conveying happiness. I totally agree that it is, but it takes you explaining that. And right now that's not happening enough. You give us a few reminders here and there, but not enough. Not enough. Okay, so the one thing that I think I can talk to you about also is organization and transitioning. And I'm not sure, I don't know if this is strong enough. It might be stronger if you say, like, this is the most effective way that they got across the idea of happiness. But just, I don't know if this works. It made me want to sit and admire. It felt kind of weak sauce. And then particularly because it seemed like you were trying to make the argument that one is better than the other. So if one is better than the other, it seems like you should be kind of saying, like, the most effective, or the most obvious way that the 1940s mural was more effective than Good Times Remembered in conveying happiness was through the use of color. Like, okay, all right, then I kind of understand where we're at. But just kind of saying, yeah, I wanted to sit and watch this mural more than the other mural, or I just wanted to, colors maybe what attracted me to the murals most. I think that's kind of weak. I know that's in one of the examples I gave y'all, but I think you can do better than that. All right. I felt like in the paragraphs about setting, I felt like I'm not sure the 40s, the portion about the 1940s mural was as effective as the Good Times Remembered mural. I think there's more to kind of think about there. I wonder if that's also kind of a place where you might be able to talk about community, and I wasn't kind of sold on that. It felt like you had more to say about the Good Times Remembered mural. So, I mean, maybe there's some kind of explanation of why you're talking about that mural more than the other. Another thing that I wanted to mention to you was there are places where transitioning was needed, and it felt like the Andrew Lee Fight paraphrase, it felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. It felt like that was kind of slammed in at the end of the paragraph. It felt like we were talking about, the use of people, and then community was kind of thrown in at the last bit. Like, I see how the two are related, but it felt like it was kind of forced, and it didn't seem like you kind of needed it. So there's stuff to work on with that as far as transitioning, also between the body paragraphs as well. But I really kind of want to get across, like, how proud I am of you of this essay. I think it's a really good draft. It's actually a draft that I'm going to be sharing with my 10 o'clock class tomorrow. I'll take your name off of it. But you should be proud of this. It's solid. Like, it's definitely on its way. So let me know if you want to chat about this some more, chat about your revision ideas. But those are kind of the big issues that I saw at this point. And I will talk to you later this week.